Freaking. We're live. 11 people. Holy macaroni breath. Let me adjust. I don't understand how this thing tightens past. Cool. Well, hello. My favorite disc golfer of all time. Thank you. I am flattered. You are my favorite person who I'm the favorite disc golfer of all. That doesn't really flow very well, does it? You are my favorite Rick Hander in the entire world. Hello, Tony. Hello, Ronald. Hello, Glenn. Oh, that's cool. You're going to get to go to the NBA, Donald. That's awesome. Ronald, I mean. Yeah, you'll have a great time out there. I know. I wanted to play. I'm not happy about not being able to play, but the tripod screw has a rough noise. Oh,
it was squeaky.
Let's see. What? Oh, my coat? I guess I could. It's warm in here. I was just outside. Preparing. All right. I got a funny story about something that happened in front of the hotel. Let's see.
For your first question, or you want me to start?
No, you can post stuff. Let's see. And then I'll give everybody an update on my health. I'm going to live. I'm not dying. By the way, happy Annie Oakley. Is Annie Oakley your real name? If so, that's a neat name to have. What's up, Ken? Moses? Chris? Cameron? Oh, you got the Berg. Sweet. All right. You're perfect for this question, dude. Is that because I'm a dude? I can't find... We're all dudes. Are we?
Yeah, I'm a dude.
You're not a dude?
We're all dudes.
You're not a dude.
Dude.
Dude. You're not a dude.
No, according to Nickelodeon, back in the 90s, we were all dudes.
Wait, Nickelodeon? Well, I don't...
Since the 90s, we've all been dudes.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't cite Nickelodeon as my source of knowledge. I get all my knowledge from Ancient Aliens. That's a joke, everybody. There's not one word of that last sentence that is true. Oh, okay. You're not a dude.
I'm a dude. You're a dude.
I've seen you naked. You're not a dude.
Let's
see. You can't find discs for anything. My friends. You playing Colorblindness. I'll be playing with my buddy and find a disc with no name on it. Something straight or kind of floppy. Toss it to me. I'll play with the very best shots. People talk about being familiar with discs. But what does it mean, these randoms? Oh, God, that's a really good question. And there's a lot there. You can't find discs for anything. You blame colorblindness. You mean you can't find discs when they get lost in the woods because of colorblindness? Because that's a real thing. There was a T.J. Lawrence was colorblind, which couldn't see red or green or differentiate between red and green. And so whenever we had temporary courses, you would always, like everybody in Colorado knew, you'd have to spray paint the tee pads white. Because if you used red paint, he couldn't see them. So I suspect that if you lost a red disc in the grass, you would probably have an equally hard time finding it. So is that what you meant? No, hold on a minute, go back a second. Oh, in the fairway, and you lose them, and you are red, green. Yeah, I mean, you got to throw different discs. I mean, that's what TJ always had to do. TJ's, by the way, the player... he's only been to one World Championships and finished fourth at his only World Championships. So he may have the best average World Championships finish of any player in history. But that's, yeah, I mean, just different color discs. I mean, that's just, the nature of it. And if you're on the card with someone who loses the disc, then, spend your 3 minutes trying to help. But
there's a special.
We might have
There's a special accommodations request that you can put in for PDGA. So if you need like an accommodation, like that's probably legitimate. If you need like extra time to be able to find your disc because that's a limitation that you have.
Yeah, maybe there's an accommodation you could apply for. I don't think you would. I mean, because you can always choose to throw the discs that are not that color.
Well, you could petition for it. If
But
it's,
you can petition for it. Yeah, that's a good question though. I don't know. But I mean,
I think that would be a reasonable accommodation if that's what you need to play the game.
yeah, I would say there's possibly an accommodation for it. I don't know. It's new. I would post to the PDGA board and ask them. So yeah, so I didn't give you a good answer at all, I don't think. Are you the one shocked to find out that James Conrad is a forehand dominant ping pong player? I wasn't aware of that either. Hey, by the way, you all want to hear a great ping pong story? I'm old. Us old people have so many stories. So there is a person by the name of Pete May. Some of you may have heard of Pete May. He's like a 7-time or something world champion in the over 70 division. And Pete is a world or a national table tennis champion. And I got to go over to Pete's place when I stayed with him in Augusta. He's a good friend of mine, and I stayed with him. And he says he talked about his table tennis training facility where he trains. And I was like, I want to go check that out. I want to play with you, because like I grew up playing. I spent a lot of time in juvenile hall and rehabs as a kid. I got really good at ping pong for, at that level, right? So anyways, we go to his training facility. He has like 6 or 7 tables set up. Each of the 7 table setups have what he calls a robot on the other side of the table. Each of the robots are programmed to do different shots. And you fill the robot full of ping pong balls, and you just sit across from the robot, and the robot shoots ping pong balls at you, and you do drills. I guess this is what you do at that level. And the interesting thing about it was, it's like there's so many different levels to things, right? You think you're a good bowler because you're a good bowler in your league, and then you try to bowl on PBA oil patterns, and you're like, oh my God, I thought I was good at bowling. I'm really not. And there's levels. So this is the level Pete May is. Pete May sorry, kind of a long story. It's a great ending to the story. Pete May goes to the U.S. Disc Golf Championships. All right. Now, among all these incredibly talented, 20 and 30-year-old athletes at the USDGC, a lot of them have ping pong tables. A lot of them grew up playing ping pong. A lot of them are legit good. As recreational players, they're good. They're going to smoke your average recreational player. They're good. So Pete has a challenge for all the players in the USDGC. He sets up a ping pong table, and behind him he sets $10,000 cash. Now, this is Pete May at 70 years old. Sets $10,000 cash behind him and says, anybody that wants to play against me, you can play against me for free. Doesn't cost you a thing. All you got to do to win the $10,000 cash, score 3 points in a row. Line them up. And if anybody scores 3 points in a row, they get $10,000 in cash. And Pete sat there and just player after player after player after player lined up. One player scored 1 point at 70 years old. That's the levels that we don't from ping pong. Yeah, $10,000 if anybody can score 3 points.
This is the Pete May that we had dinner with.
This is you had dinner with him.
Oh,
yeah, it's the sweetest guy in the entire world. Anyways, really long story, has nothing to do with James Conrad except holy macaroni. I got to play against him, and like I said, I was a very, very good ping pong player when I was younger. I could beat all the adults in the neighborhood. And when I played against him, it was just we weren't playing the same game. It was just it's hard. I don't know how else to describe it. We weren't playing the same game. Where am I playing next? I am playing the USDGC qualifier next Monday.
Correct.
Next Monday in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Monday,
No, I'm sorry, a week from Monday. I got a seminar Monday. Week from Monday, if I qualify, assuming I will, I plan on it, I'll be playing the USDGC in Rock Hill. And then from there, going out to the biggest money, the $100,000 skins match in Missouri, and then getting on an airplane and disappearing for at least a year and a half. right?
No, you're not disappearing. You're gonna be Johnny Appleseed across the world.
Oh no, I'm going to be playing disc golf all over the world. Disappearing from the U.S.
Disc Golf Final Four, I think, is the website to vote for.
Oh, that's right. It's called discgolffinal4.com, and that's where you can pick your winner. You bet money. It's not technically betting. That would not be legal. So you're not betting. You're just putting money and then choosing who you think's going to win.
You're getting a prize pack.
You get a prize pack, and then I think 10% of the money that comes in goes to the player you picked, and then you can win a whole bunch of stuff. At the Big Money Skins match, 480 people all didn't bet $100 a piece, or between 50 and 100 a piece, or something like that. Anyways, 80 of them actually were dumb enough to pick me, and then they won a whole bunch of stuff. So that's where you go make your wagers for. But I'll be there. I have every intention of winning again. Do I think anyone will hit the $1 million ace tomorrow? And if they do, in your opinion, what does it mean for the growth of the sport? It's not going to do anything to make the sport grow. It's just going to be it'll be a sports center moment. Here's a little bit of trivia though. Those prizes are always, you get an insurance policy for those prizes. And I actually gave away the first mega prize at a disc golf tournament. Me and Leonard Muse ran the California State Championships, and we insured a hole in the tournament. Now, it wasn't for $1 million. It was for $12,000. If you hit it during the round, and if you hit it between rounds, it was $2,500. And I think the policy cost us like $500 or something like that. And Harold Hampton won $2,500. But at the time, it was the largest ace pot in the history of disc golf. But we did it through a company called American Hole in One. So it's another kind of first thing that I did. So it's not going to change the sport. It's going to change someone's life if they hit it. But I haven't seen the details. Do you know who?
There's a whole list of people.
There's a whole. I saw the pictures of it. It was kind of a who's who of players.
Yeah. So they have a. You want me to look it up and tell you?
Yeah, we can look it up and tell you. No, it's going to be cool though. I hope these are all my friends. Like, there's not one of them there I wouldn't be happy for. So I hope someone hits it.
They were voting in who was going to be eligible to play it. So it wasn't just like an automatic.
They were voting in?
Yeah, with the spectators or people.
Wait, are they still voting?
I think the voting is closed.
Oh, the voting's closed. Darn. Because I probably had a chance of getting some votes. All the old people would have voted for me. Everybody over 50. I got that market cornered. If you're over 50. I've even told that to Ricky before. There was a group of a whole bunch of people my age or older over there. And Ricky looked over there. I said, don't even think about it. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, they're mine. Don't even think about it, Ricky. Because they're my crew. They're my people. All of you older people are my people. The younger people too. I like everybody. But the older people are my people. Okay.
I'm not finding the list.
Not finding the list? Okay. What other questions up? You couldn't find any new jerseys online. Yeah, they're there. They're at scottstokely.net, not at scottstokely.com. You should see an image on the top for the jerseys as well. Oh, in fact, here, let me go and show. Those of you haven't seen, I think a lot of you have, but if you haven't seen, these 3 discs are available at scottstokely.net. That light looks kind of funny. And they're part of they're by the way, they're Discraft Buzz's ESP's full color. By the way, I'm going to show this room real quick. This room's kind of wild. So it's like an expensive hotel, right?
Yeah.
We're in Providence. It's like an expensive hotel. But sometimes expensive places try to look cheap on purpose. It's kind of like when people wear $300 shirts and back when they would call the grunge look, and they're $300 because they just tear a shirt. But all the walls are concrete. It's supposed to look totally industrial. It's it's totally bizarre. There's pipes up above. Like I think we paid an extra dollar. Like
Look in there and go to the right.
right, look in there. What?
In there. And then go to
And what's to the right? Is it the bath? Oh wow, yeah, the bathroom. This is totally funky, right? But apparently, like we're paying like an extra $100 a night to
stay in a jail cell.
to stay in a bomb,
posh
like a
jail
bomb.
cell.
No, it's like a bomb shelter. So, anyways, it's kind of funky. I mean, we like it, but it's just really funny. They managed to convince us this would be like I had this idea one time. I had this great idea for this restaurant. It was going to be called Refugees, and it was going to be like a theme restaurant, which is like you pay like $20 or something for your dinner, and it's going to be a theme restaurant, so it's supposed to look like a refugee camp. And the hook on the restaurant is all people would get is like some really crappy like broth and some bread that cost like 12 cents. It cost me like 12 cents, but I could charge them $20 because of the authenticity of it. I think that's kind of like what's happening to us here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea though, right? Isn't it, Refugees?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna have barbed wire fences and like people with machine guns. And
Somebody needs to make a disc golf resort.
a disc golf resort called Refugees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, someone said I rented a room, below the subway. What musical instruments do I like? Well, so we had this debate today because we saw someone playing bagpipes, and I said, right? Did we not have this debate?
Yes, we did.
I said nobody likes bagpipes, and well, we like them because it's Scottish, and we like them if there's a Scottish theme, and we like them because of the culture. Like if you were going to a Scottish wedding, you would expect bagpipes. But when I said no one likes bagpipes, is what I'm saying is that like nobody goes to iTunes and downloads bagpipe music.
But I guarantee you.
I would be willing to bet. I'd be willing to bet that not one person on here has ever downloaded bagpipe music. And Adriana says, well, will you say the same thing about accordions? And I would say no, because I've downloaded Weird Al. So I've downloaded accordion music and polka music.
Yeah, no,
Never bagpipes.
Polka is 100% cool. There's a band in Dallas. We used to go to festivals just to watch them all the time.
Yeah, polka's
They're fantastic.
polka's fantastic. But
I also just like the accordion.
yeah,
Like,
so the accordion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not bagpipes. By the way, stupid idiot asked what musical instruments do I like, and I just started talking about the ones I don't like. That's the literal definition of the exact opposite of answering your question. I tried learning how to play guitar for years, and it turned out that I found out that I have a form of dyslexia. I thought dyslexia just meant that letters get reversed or backwards and it makes it hard to read and that things happen in your brain. Well, I found out that one of the different types, I have no problem reading, one of the types of dyslexia is both hands operating at the same time. That is something people who have this type of dyslexia can't do. Because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't play guitar. Like I'm musical, I've got great tonality, great rhythm, and I'm coordinated, and I practiced a lot. And I sucked. I played for like a year, and I sucked at guitar. And I figured out it's like dyslexia. Like my brain doesn't operate both hands at the same time. So Betso plays a mean air guitar. I do not play a mean air guitar. I hate those people. I saw someone. No. I saw like I rarely watch television, and this is one of my I get these moments where I'm like, I'm gonna watch something on TV, and within like minutes, I'm reminded of why I shouldn't do this, and it was because my daughter watched America's Got Talent, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm gonna put on America's Got Talent so I can watch something with her, right? So I put on America's Got Talent, and the first person I saw was this guy playing air guitar, and the judges gave him like a standing ovation. And it's like, and they moved him on to the finals for doing nothing. Like, there's like millions of people out there that can play musical instruments. This guy literally doesn't. And he moves on to the finals. And I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. This is such an offense to every musician who's ever lived. Oh my God, you've triggered me.
That's like dancing.
You've triggered me.
Hey,
What?
so how come your dyslexia doesn't affect you playing like Beat Saber and stuff? You do pretty good at that.
At Beat Saber?
Yeah.
Well, probably because they don't both go at once. I don't
Is
think.
it your actual fingers?
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I've not been diagnosed for this, but it was just my question, like why? Like I'm trying to play punk rock guitar. We're talking power chords. This is like the easiest. This is basically like most kids, punk rock kids, buy a guitar, they learn a couple power chords, and they play their first live performance like 4 days after they start playing guitar. They only know like 2 songs. They play each one like 6 times for their 30-minute set. But like after a year, I couldn't do what a typical kid can do in like a little bit. And so the explanation that I got was that it was a type of dyslexia.
Interesting.
That would explain why I couldn't do this thing that I'm not saying I was bad at it. I'm saying you would, if I told you I'd been playing for a year, you would, like, I couldn't convince you of that. You would say, no, you've been playing for 3 days, you're exaggerating.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I'm still triggered over the air guitar thing. Kick that, block him. I don't remember who it was.
I
But
don't either.
you know, okay. If I remembered who it was, I'd block you for that. How dare you? If the only thing that gets me worse, if you ever want to get, look, there's 3 things that'll get you blocked from my site. Just 3 things. I don't want to hear anything racist. I don't want to hear anything homophobic. And if you talk about how great of a director Tim Burton was after remaking Willy Wonka, you're off the site. Anybody that remakes Willy Wonka is worse than Hitler. Okay, now I just triggered myself. I literally just upset myself. Well, by the way, I'm looking at the screen, the video. I triggered myself while looking at myself. So I literally triggered the person in the screen. All right. What do I think about a rule where a lost disc in round 1 means that it cannot be used for the rest of the tournament, even if found later that day? Dislike that rule because I don't see a reason for it. If you lose a disc and you get it back, I think it's great. Here's what I think about the rules. I don't think they need to change any more rules, mostly. Like, I think that they got the rules. Like when they changed the mandatory rule, that bizarre rule where if you make it through the mandatory, but then you go back through and the plane, now you've missed it. Like, it's just like this makes no sense whatsoever. And I think it's like, I think what happens is that okay, by the way, I love the PDJ. They're mostly volunteers. They work their asses off. But I think it's a human tendency, like if you're on a rule committee, that like, we got to have new rules. We got to make changes. Sometimes things are okay the way they are. This was my theory. Can't prove this. But this is my theory about one of the problems that Windows operating systems had, was that every single version, right? The 3.5, the 5, the XP, the 7, the 10, whatever, can't even remember. But every single version, every single thing, it seemed like on the Microsoft thing changed. Everything changed a little bit. And it was the stupidest thing. But all I can think of is if you're on the calendar icon committee, like you need to justify your job by changing something every single time. And so every single time they would change things that did not need to be changed, which made things worse, not better. So there. How about that for taking that in a direction you didn't expect? I started crapping all over Bill Gates after a lost disc question. White or wheat? Neither. I don't do any breads. I'm off. I've been off breads for a year. Thoughts on making the baskets and tops smaller in diameter? Yeah, I got great thoughts about that.
Wait, tell them what you used to eat before you stopped eating bread.
Oh, before I stopped eating bread?
Yeah.
Talking about when I would sit in bed and just eat like half a loaf of bread and a half pound of cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I met Adriana, that's what. But that's not that weird. Everybody sits in bed before they go to bed, and you buy a loaf of bread at the store, and you like cut it in half, and then you get like a half pound of cheese, and you just sit in bed and take a bite of bread and take a bite of cheese, and you do it every night before you go to bed and get fat. That's what everybody does. It's what I did. That's not the worst eating habit ever. You want to hear the worst eating habit ever? For the longest time, I used to eat a box, like not a big box. I'm not an animal, but I would eat a small box of Nerds every night before I went to bed. You know, or as I call it, moderation, because it wasn't the big box. But every night before I went to bed, I ate a box of Nerds, right? So I'd eat a box of Nerds, and like, I was addicted to Nerds. And all of a sudden, like one that's like 4 years ago, I seen the box of Nerds, and I just all of a sudden, like one of the Nerds I couldn't bite through, and then I realized it was bigger than the other Nerds, and then so I spit it out, and it was like part of my tooth. That tooth right there had broken off, and I'm like, no, this is horrible. Like now I hit I crossed that invisible line where I can't eat Nerds anymore. Like I was devastated by this. Maybe if I just like if I just suck the flavor off them, but then it's like, then, after like 3 seconds of that, you can't help but eat them. And anyways, I said, I can't eat Nerds anymore. And I was crushed. Had to get the tooth removed. Well, that went on about a month. And after about a month, I managed to talk myself into, I don't think the Nerds were the problem. I think it was something else altogether. So I started eating a box of Nerds again every night. And that's when this tooth came out. I chipped another tooth eating Nerds. So I've lost 2 teeth due to eating Nerds.
Nerds injuries.
Nerds injuries. It's you tell people that, it's like, you tell them what happened to your teeth, and it's like, well, from eating Nerds. You know what they always say? They're like, okay, fine, don't tell me.
Fine.
You don't need to tell me.
You should just make up a story like you lost it in a street fight or something. That's a better story.
Yeah, no, I wish I could. I wish I had a better story for. I mean, I stopped eating Nerds because I don't want to lose any more teeth. Thoughts on making the baskets and tops smaller in diameter? Yes, I have some thoughts about that. I would love to see the baskets smaller, but they can't just be smaller in diameter, because here's the thing. If you're a spin putter, it's easy to get the right height, but right and left is where you're going to miss. If you're a push putter, just using your shoulder, it's easy to get the right line, but the height is the issue. So if you make baskets either more narrow or shorter, then you will give a distinct, definitive advantage to either spin putters or push putters. So you have to actually do both. You would have to make them narrower, but also not as tall. I'm a huge fan of that. I talked about this just a minute ago about how in bowling, the levels that people play at. I used to bowl like pretty seriously, and not wasn't great, but would average 210, 213, 215, somewhere in there. It was decent. And the pro at our lane, who actually had 5 PBA Tour wins, kept talking about how these lanes are nothing like the PBA lanes, the oil patterns that they would use. And we kept saying, well, we want to bowl in the PBA oil patterns. And he's like, no, you don't. And we're like, yeah, we do. And he's like, no, because it's going to suck for you. You're going to hate it. Nobody likes it. I'm like, who cares? It's more fun. We play in the real lanes. So one night he does the PBA oil patterns, and I went from a 215 average bowler to a 170 bowler. And so did everybody else. Like they were impossible. That was the lanes that the pros bowl on. And that's when I realized, oh my God, these people are like I thought I was pretty good. It's like, no, they're playing a different game. It's just like being MA3 versus a pro disc golfer. Even though the MA3 might still throw 400 feet and every once in a while make big shots, and you're like, well, they don't look that far behind Paul McBeth. It's like, no, they're playing a different game. And that's what I noticed. But the point is that if the PBA Tour existed on house lanes, basically normal lanes, bowlers would be averaging the 250 range, the pros, 250 to 255. Like, it's not even fun. Like, it's stupid. And I heard the same thing about ball golf. I've heard that in ball golf, the greens on the PBA Tour, the lanes on the PBA Tour, on the PGA Tour, the greens on the PGA Tour, if you put those at a country club, people would quit because they're impossible for a recreational player to putt on. So there's precedent for doing this. The difference between those two is the person at home can't tell that those are harder. Like I couldn't tell that the PBA lanes were harder by looking until I actually bowled on them. So but with disc golf, when you see the pros struggling with putts, you'll actually see a smaller basket, so they don't look bad doing it. It would make it so putting wasn't automatic. So I would love to see. Well, I would love to see an experiment. I don't want to say we should switch to smaller baskets. I would like to see the pros compete on smaller baskets and let's see what it's like. Does it make it more interesting or does it make it boring because everybody's missing 30 footers? I don't know. Who was the pro? His name was Tom. It's Loveland Lanes in Loveland, Colorado. And his name was Tom something. I should know. I bowled with him for years. I bowled on his team one year. He has 5 PBA Tour wins in 5 appearances. So he actually was on television 5 times and won all 5 times when he was on television. So he had one check in his thing for like $40,000, a giant check. If you look it up, I'm sure you can find it. Loveland Lanes. God, what's his name? Will you look up Loveland Lanes? Boyne Alley Pro Tom. I can tell you in a second. Real nice guy. What's the favorite thing y'all saw today? So we went to we got to go explore Boston today, and we did something. We got to go to what did we do the first thing in the morning before Old Ironside?
What was the first thing we did?
No, there was something else. I have to look at my phone to get pictures. There was something we did that was, probably Old Ironside, the old boat that's been in commission. Like it was since like the 1700s. It was an old warship with all the cannons on it. It was really cool. No, there was something else though. I took a picture of it. Hold on a minute. I got to answer this question, y'all. I'm sorry. Forgive. I'm gonna lose you for a second, but I gotta find it to tell you because it was really cool.
Was it Tom Carter?
No. Now the mic's back on. As long as I remain healthy or somewhat healthy, do I intend to compete professionally as long as I live? Yeah, I don't see why not. I have a different agenda in life than I think a lot of people. I don't count on prize money. I give away my prize money, so I don't care about that. I'm having way more fun getting my ass kicked by these kids. But when I finish in the top 10, which I've done 3 times this year, 2 at 8 years, 1 at one of the Pro Tour event was 11th. But I've been in the top or in the 30s for a couple of Elite Series events. Like I still beat like 3/4 of like the best players in the entire world. 10, 20, 10, 30, 10, 40 rated players I've beaten this year. And that's really, it's exciting. And I'm having fun competing against them, even though I haven't been really competing to win yet, as well as I would like to. I'm having fun. The previous 2 years touring, I was playing mostly 40 and older. I was 52, but I was playing MP40. I would still play down a division and some MP50s, but I won 70% of my tournaments, exactly 70%. And it's not that it's not fun, but I'm having a lot more fun. I'm having a lot more fun battling where every stroke matters. Am I going to make the cut? Am I going to cash? I'm still trying to win, but if I'm not in contention to win, like I'm having to fight every single throw just to try to, can I get into the top 30? Can I get into, can I make the cut? Like, that's so much fun for me. Like, I don't want to stop doing that. I have no desire to go up and play in my age. I don't know if I ever will. Like, I don't know why. I mean, as long as I'm like 1,000 rated player, I'm still competitive. I still belong. And by the way, I'm going to remain healthy. This health thing I'm going through is don't get old. If there's any young people listening, any of you young people out there, don't age. That's my advice for you. There, that's good advice, right? No, if you can't prevent aging, forestall. Is that the right word?
Sure.
Forestall. I don't know if that's even a word, but it sounds like a word. Forestall the aging process as long as you can. Anything you can do to stay physically healthy and stay younger longer is like, please do it. So it's the best.
Or at least like enjoy it.
Oh, and enjoy every second of
Don't
it.
spend your youth being.
This is
by the
no. Here's what I feel about being older. Like, I'm 53 years old. I'm living the best life I've ever lived. I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm doing things like I'm more financially successful. I'm getting to see the world. Like I've never been happier in my entire life. And I would give my right arm and my girlfriend in exchange for being 20 years old again. Sorry, does that hurt your feelings?
No.
You understand, right?
Well, I would be too young for you if you were 20, so you'd have to wait.
I'd have to wait. No, I mean, I would give anything to be younger. So if you're younger, it's like, just please enjoy every second of it. It's like, I mean, I know all old people say this, but it's gone like that. So let's see. How long and how hard was it to get in the rip shape you are now? 42 in my game is about topped out. I think the next step is getting super good shape. So this is a perfect segue. I can't announce it yet, but I'm about to do a disc golf fitness class regarding this very thing. So basically, it's the 80-20 rule. Everything in life is like falls under the 80-20 rule. By the way, if you Google it, you'll find out the 80-20 rule for some reason applies to almost everything. Like, 20% of the customers lodge 80% of the complaints, or like there's so many of these things. I believe that 20% of the effort will give you 80% of the results. So you can get 80% of the way towards being really, really, really great shape with like 20% effort. Then you have to do the other 80% effort for that last 20%, meaning it's not that hard to get mostly there, but it's a nightmare to get totally there. You want to be a professional triathlete? Screw that. That sounds like a terrible life. So to get in the shape I've gotten in, I've done the 20%. I haven't done the hard stuff, but I've diligently done the 20%. I spent a year, I worked out. Well, I was working out 4 days a week, like 2 hours a day, because I was like focused really hard at working out. But I'm now doing 1 day a week for 2 hours. That's it, just 1 day a week. And then the 20% effort was I didn't have a radical diet. I gave up bread, pasta, rice, tortillas, and sweet sugar. Sodas, candy, cake, ice cream. That's it. I didn't count macros, didn't weigh out my portions, didn't count calories, didn't worry about the nutritional content. I didn't go organic, vegan, blah, 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 blah. I just gave up 5 things and then worked out. But I did it diligently. I didn't like fall off, the wagon, and like, I didn't eat bread except when I had a cheeseburger. Like, I was very diligent about that 20%, but that's all it was. It wasn't a massive change. It was just a diligent, committed change. I also worked out a lot more than I will probably ever do again in my life, but I was also focused on, I'm going to be on tour in 9 months, and I need to get into like crazy shape. Like, I had a reason to do it. If I was just trying to get in shape, like twice a week for an hour working out is honestly, I think it's plenty. My opinion. How soon do I think AB will mature and power down since his game is distance is more than enough? He still seems he thinks he treats some holes like a long drive competition. Anthony Barella is going to be a world champion, my opinion. He is on those people like Cole Redalian or, Gannon Burr. Like, there's no limit to what these kids are going to do. So AB's got world titles in his future. It's the funny thing is that I don't. So here's the thing. I don't think you need to play mature, strategic golf to win on the Pro Tour. You have to play incorrect. So allow me to explain. You could do things that if you play the right statistical play every single time, based on probabilities over the long run, what is my best? Should I lay this one up or should I run it? Well, a lot of times you should be laying it up, from 60 feet. Mathematically, you're going to miss more comeback putts than you're going to hit 60 footers. You should lay up 60 footers. Well, no one on tour does, but you should. There's a lot of times when there's holes with OB in play where mathematically, based on the chances of going OB and the chances of birdieing, mathematically, even the best players in the world should just forego the birdie and take a par all 3 rounds and throw it way safe and then lay it and take their par. Mathematically, that's the correct long-term play, but nobody does. Well, here's the problem. Because everyone else is playing hyper-aggressive and a lot of times mathematically incorrect golf, well, when you have 80 super high-level players out there, all of them playing hyper-aggressive, then statistically, this is just probabilities, there's going to be a larger variance, a larger range of good tournaments and bad tournaments, good rounds and bad rounds, which means there's always going to be some players who are going to excel because it's a small sample size. It's 3 rounds. It's not the correct golf to play for 100 rounds. In a 100-round tournament, the smart play wins, right? But in a 3-round tournament, the smart play doesn't win. So what happens is you can be a player who's playing smart and you almost can't win that way. You almost have to be hyper aggressive and just go for it and then take your lumps. And then when you have a tournament where you bang some 60 footers and none of the shots coming back miss, and you play aggressive over the out of bounds and none of them go out of bounds that tournament, well, then all of a sudden you have a couple 10-60 rounds and you're winning an Elite Series event. Whereas the person that's playing conservative is always in the top 20. And but they're not necessarily winning. Like that player doesn't win. So I don't think he needs to mature and power down to win on the Pro Tour. I think he's like on the right path, and just being hyper aggressive is right. And he's so good and he's getting better that he's gonna have a breakout or breakout tournaments. AB's a world champion. He's like, there's no question he wins worlds at some point, maybe more than once. Do I still live in Justin? I've never lived in Justin. I don't have a home. Every single thing we own, and not an exaggeration, everything we own is in our hotel room right now. No storage unit, no home base. We don't even have a box with like memorabilia somewhere. Everything we own is in our room. But we had to register our truck somewhere, so we registered in Justin, Texas. Haven't been there in years, but have never lived there. Exercises routine, discipline for mental toughness on the course. See, I don't know about exercises for mental toughness. I mean, there's so much to the mental game. We do this in my online class where I spend an entire class on just nothing but talking about the mental game. And, this is one of those areas I could like talk for an hour about this and bore everybody. If anybody has heard it before, they're going to tune out because they're going to be like, I don't need to hear an hour of this again. I'll say this. I think, and this is going to contradict everybody's opinion out there. Everybody's going to think I'm an idiot for saying this, but I don't think mental game is as important as people think. I think mechanics trumps everything. I think proper mechanics and then proper training and practice using those mechanics, it just trumps everything. And the reason why I think this, and this is why, so before you don't click off yet, because that sounds stupid to say mental game's not that important. Hear me out for 90 seconds and I'll explain. Is that when I look at sports and I look at like I look at the NBA, for instance, and I look at the players in the NBA, I don't think to myself, you know why they're all in the NBA? Because every one of them is the most well-adjusted, reasonable, rational thinking, calm, collective, psychological specimen who ever lived. I don't see a correlation between that and success. I see a huge correlation between high levels of athleticism, and I'd be willing to bet that everybody in the NBA also had high levels of training and practicing. I think they outworked everybody on the practice court. I think they outworked everybody after practice when they kept shooting free throws. And I think they have naturally gifted athleticism. They happen to have body types and all the things. That's what makes the best NBA players. That's the correlation I see. They all have that. But it's like, why? When I see someone that just has a great mental game, but they don't have athletic skills, like, it doesn't do a damn bit of good. But I see plenty of players with terrible mental games, but with athletic skills that are still great. Like, that's the correlation I see. I don't see the mental game being the biggest part of it. And again, every sports psychology in the book would tell me I'm an idiot for saying this. But, I'm sorry. Like, I'd be willing to bet that if I can't prove this, but this would be a great test. I would love to see everybody on an NFL team answer like 10 questions and then have a sports psychologist look at the answers of all 45 players on the team, but they can't see the players at all. And then guess which of those players make the NFL based on their answers. And then another person not ask a single question, but watch those 45 players run and throw the ball and actually play the game. And I'd be willing to bet that the person that watches those players actually can see what they look like and see how fast they run and see how well they play, has a far higher degree of accuracy predicting NFL than the person just reading the answers. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that the person reading the answers is no better at picking NFL players than random chance. Can't prove that. But I'd be willing to bet that the best answers are, I bet it's just, there's zero correlation between the best psychological answers and going into the NFL. I'm going to use that example because I think that's
a good one.
That's a good one. I'd be willing to bet that's true. I wonder if anybody's tested that. I don't see the correlation. The correlation is athleticism and practice.
Tom Kreitz?
Tom Kreitz. Yes, that's his name. The bowler, Tom Kreitz. Is it Kreitz?
Yeah.
It's funny because in my mind I kept thinking Tom Kite, but that's a golfer.
He ran the pro shop at Loveland.
Yeah.
Bowl, and he's originally from Tampa.
Yeah. So
Tom. I found an article from the Tampa Bay Times.
Okay, yeah. Tom Kreitz is the bowler that I on my team.
I still can't find the player list of who's eligible for
we still
$1
can't find
million shot, but
yeah. Okay, that was a very rambling answer, but I think I actually got to something on that psychological test. Anyone know you can watch the replay of the MPO round 1 at Maple Hill? I know GK Pro shows the FPO, but Disc Golf Network, right?
Yeah.
So Disc Golf Network for sure. I don't know when they broadcast it on the Disc Golf Network YouTube channel, but that's where it would be.
Show those discs.
Oh yeah. I have Tour Series. By the way, I only have a few signed Tour Series discs left up at the shop. I got Birds, Marvels. I think there's Wizards, Loads, Stalls. These are all my Tour Series discs at ScottStokely.net, but there's a few signed ones left. And after the signed ones are gone, they're going to be gone. And once I take off in October to go to Europe, any discs that aren't here signed, there's not going to be signed discs anymore because I won't be here. I don't think we're going to be shipping discs to Europe for me to sign. So these two. And these are the Stokely Universe discs. If you haven't seen these are the coolest things. By the way, I just decided today I'm going to get one of these tattooed on me. I talked to the artist creative Rob, but I think I'm going to ask him to do a line art drawing. But I was thinking of getting one of these guys tattooed on me. That's sick, right?
I love them.
What do you think? Think I should do that?
Yeah.
What do you think about? Hold on, you're gonna eavesdrop on a conversation. What do you think about doing an entire like this, like a universe scene across my back, where my entire back is like the Stokely universe, with the characters in there in the baskets? That's pretty cool, right?
It's not a bad idea.
Because that's neat, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Plus,
the only thing is, like, I keep telling you, when I tattoo my body, I want to be able to see it. Like, if you put that much amazing artwork on your body, you won't be able to see. Maybe you'll have to do it on your chest.
No, if they do it on my chest, I'll start crying. I'll cry like a baby if they tattooed my chest. And I heard stomachs are the worst. No, I could probably do back. Anyways, thinking about it.
I think stomachs are worse. No.
You don't know what you're talking about.
It's only bad across the sternum. So as long as you, like, your muscle and
you're not. By the way, you're not a dude. Okay. She called herself a dude earlier.
I'm a dude. You're a dude. We're all dudes.
You're not a dude.
I promise. Keenan and Kel would not lie to me.
Keenan and Kel? I don't. Now you're just making up words. All right. What players in the 90s had the creativity of Alden Harris to make vlogs like he does, technology permitting? That's a really good question. I like Alden's and I like Gannon's, and I love when they work together. By the way, both those kids are as stand-up kids as you're ever going to meet. I mean, you ever want to, like, if you want someone to root for, that's not going to let you down, it's Alden and Gannon. Love those kids. Who was clever enough to do it? You mean aside from me? Let's see. I should just say just me. Wouldn't that be horrible thing to say?
Well, from some of the stories you've told me,
okay,
a
lot of the players were clever enough.
Jeff and Johnny listening would be pretty funny.
Yeah. No, so here's the thing about it. Okay, so here's my answer, and I'm going to piss off all my friends from the 90s. But this is based on what I've seen them do with their careers. Just about all of them are clever enough to do it, but most of them wouldn't do it because it would probably feel too much like work. Is that fair?
I think that works.
That work?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I also wish to avoid work like the plague, but I want to do it with enough money where I can not work. How about high-level 3-disc only tournaments? I think it's fine, but any of the novelty tournaments, I think they're all fun. Like skins matches are fun, but those are all going to be novelties. You know, I'm not anti anything that's fun, but at the end of the day, like playing the highest level game is what most people do want to see. Or a 1-disc world championships, same thing. It's a gimmick, you know. Like they had the polecat world championships in San Francisco this year. Like, it's awesome. It's fun. I won the World Mini Indoor Guts Championship. So I have a world title. I'm the 1993 World Mini Indoor Guts Champion.
You had to play guts with a mini?
We played guts with a mini, yeah. And I won the World Mini Indoor Guts Championships. But the thing is, like, when I talk about my 17 world and national titles, that's not one of them. I don't count it. Like, I had a trophy that said world champion on it. You know, it's technically a world title, but I don't count it as an actual title. I am going to Australia in, 4 weeks?
Yep.
What's the date we're going?
The 29th of October.
We're going the 29th of October to Australia. We're going to be there for 6 weeks. We're going to go scuba dive for 2 weeks. And then we're going to do the Australian Championships. And I'm playing doubles with Atticus. How do you pronounce his last name? Arson?
Mm-hmm.
Arson?
Sounds right.
Yeah, Atticus from Tasmania. He's a 14-year-old kid who is the highest rated disc golfer in Tasmania, or in Tassie. And he's my doubles partner for the Australian Championships. And if you're listening, Drew Gibson, we're going to whoop your ass. I don't care who you choose. I think Drew might play. I'm hoping he plays with Jennifer Allen. They would be a freaking tough team to beat. Jen is really good, and Drew's obviously
Worlds, right?
as good as they get.
They were a team.
Yeah, they were a team at Worlds. Yeah. Is that diet soda? Of course it's diet soda. See? 0 calories. Now, I am fully aware that the artificial sweeteners in here are dangerous to rats if you give them about 80 times the dose relative to body weight that we would ever take in ourselves. If you give them the amount of aspartame that if you gave them vitamin C, it would also kill them, that it's dangerous. But there's this big myth out there that as soon as you put the word artificial in front of it, it's dangerous. There's not really any evidence to support this. Boy, I'm just going to piss off everybody. There are like 9 people in this are going to just chew me out for this. I go where the science goes. And if there is a slight danger to the artificial flavors, sugar is worse, exponentially worse in every measurable way. High fructose corn syrup is worse than regular sugar, but regular syrup is worse than sugar is worse than artificial flavors. God, I might as well have just been talking politics or religion. I'm just going to piss people off now. I take it all back. Diet soda is bad. Let's see. Is there a regulation on T-pad length or width? If not, do you know why? Just curious, because it seems like there are regulations on baskets and discs. Not that I'm aware of. I know the Pro Tour is trying to standardize this. I'll tell you what, I don't love necessarily all the standardization myself. Adriana just bought me tickets to Fenway Park. I'm going to get to go to Fenway Park next Wednesday for the first time ever. And Fenway is the most unique stadium in all of baseball. I hate the idea that almost didn't exist because there had been some baseball field regulations, right? I mean, the Cardinals used to build base teams on speed because they had a large outfield so they could get a lot of extra base hits. There was a lot more room for the balls to drop. And at Fenway Park, you had to keep Wade Boggs on your team because he had an inside-out swing that would pop the ball off the green monster, and they hit a lot of doubles. And you built your team around the park you were in, and there didn't need to be standard, right? I thought it was great, and I wish, I like nice, great, good tee pads, but also tee pads that aren't so perfect. Well, if that's the course you're playing, then there's a challenge on that course. So I don't have a problem with non-standardized tee pads. I don't have a problem with non-standardized baskets. If baskets were different at every course, I wouldn't care. Here's my thing as a professional player. I feel like it's my responsibility to go take on the challenge presented to me at the course. If it's a tee pad I don't like, a basket I don't like, an out of bounds I don't like I shut the hell up. I've never once said a word about it to anybody because it's not my job. If I don't want to play on that tee pad, I don't have to go to that tournament or play that course or play that. If I don't like that basket, then don't go. Not go and complain about the basket, right? So it's more of a general philosophy. I don't care what the course or tournament director does. It's my job to play whatever they put in front of me and do my best. Favorite understable fairway driver. I like the Assassin for super flippy, and I like the Lutz for slightly flippy. That was easy. Was I a two-handed bowler by any chance? I was not. And I believe at the time when I was bowling, you were required to have your thumb in the ball. And so I think the two-handed bowlers they're not putting the thumbs in the ball. And that was not allowed. At least when I was younger, it was definitely not allowed. You weren't allowed to bowl without the thumb. Sorry to change to my favorite Halloween costume. Um, let's see. Well, my favorite Halloween costume anyone else has ever worn is a kid in Portland dressed up as me for Halloween last year. That was like the most flattering thing that's ever happened to me. That's like where I felt like an actual celebrity. Like, I mean, I'm not a real celebrity. I played disc golf, but someone dressed up as me for Halloween. That was pretty cool. I once went as Kurt Cobain for Halloween the year after he died with an entrance wound and an exit wound, and apparently that offended a lot of people. I think the words "too soon" got said a bunch of times, but still a good costume.
You want to talk about playing in a Halloween costume?
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't play it. It was the day before the tournament. Yeah, the first my first PDJ A tier back. I went out to my first return to the tour. I dressed up as a zombie. Because the tournament was on November 1st, so the day before the tournament, during my practice round, I dressed up as a zombie on the course. And so when I'd been gone for like 13 years. So when I met all the touring players for the first time, I was dressed up as a zombie. But that was fun.
Jeremy Colin remembers.
Jeremy Colin remembers that. Well, here's the thing. Why? It's the day before a tournament. Why is anybody practicing not in costume? Like, that's bullshit. Like, what are we, like, too mature to like put on a costume on Halloween the day before a disc golf tournament for the practice round? Like, I love these kids, but they bring shame to my, I don't know, to my people. I was gonna say my people. I don't know what that means.
I don't know, but your people need to like the stream, hit subscribe.
Yeah, like the stream, hit subscribe to all that
share
stuff.
It so we can have more people on here.
Yeah, and make sure you tell people about this, because I want to keep coming back every Friday night forever. Smaller targets on DGPT for a few years than A tiers. I don't even know if it has to be A tiers. I mean, the DGPT is a specific tour, and it's gonna get larger, include more events, and then it's gonna include. I assume it's gonna have to include a play-in system. Like, one of the things they're gonna struggle with is there's only so many spots on the tour, and everybody's taking those spots because everybody that's good is also wanting to be out on tour. And so, like, how do you get on the tour? Like, it's really hard because there isn't an opportunity to play in, and most of the spots are taken by touring players. And if you try to just get in at the last minute, like wait for the openings to open up, well, then you may or may not get in. And if you don't get into enough tournaments, by definition, you don't have enough tournaments to get enough points to actually qualify, which means the people already on tour, even if you're better than some of the people already on tour, those people already on tour just have a built-in advantage to staying on tour. And it shouldn't be that way. The tour should always be the best players. I mean, or I should say eventually. I mean, we're still trying to figure this out. I mean, you still got sponsors exemptions, which are good. You still have, there's exceptions, but for the most part, you should be able to play your way on. So I think the DGPT is going to expand its tour to include those events as well. So I think that the smaller baskets would have to be on all of them. But I would love to see that. I mean, I can't even say I would love to see it. I would love to see it tried and see what people think. I mean, right now it's like 30 footers are, like, if I have a tournament, and I'm not even the best putter in the world, but I've had tournaments where I'm 90% circle one. Like I'm not even the best player out there, and I'm hitting 90% of my. Those are basically means they're just, I could borderline pick them up. Like, that's no good. Give my thoughts on Nico's suspension. Here's what I'll say. Nico, first off, Nico's my friend, so I would never say anything bad about Nico. For the most part, just about everybody likes Nico. Everybody likes him off the course. But most of the people on tour consider Nico a friend and like him. So I would never say anything negative about him because, like I like him. He's my friend. I think the suspension, I hope it gets reduced enough so he could play all of next year. If he loses the entire rest of this season, like, that's a really massive penalty. He had to go home from the tour. He's not able to make a living out on the tour. Like, that's a really severe penalty. I would hate to see him miss any of next year, because then it's not just hurting his time away, but it hurts his points earnings going to the championship, awards, sponsorship for the season. That's too much. And so I hope that he gets to have a fresh start this year. Plus, it's a perfect chance for it to literally be a fresh start. Like, all right, I screwed up. This isn't going to ever happen again. Here's what I want everybody to do. No matter what you think of Nico, he's done his penalty whenever he's completed his suspension, and I think everybody should give him a fair chance. Hey, you got a clean slate, prove yourself. It's like, you got out of jail, you did your time, you paid your penalty. Like, the penalty shouldn't continue past his suspension. So once his suspension's over, he should get a fair shake to prove himself again. And if he does a good job proving himself, I hope everybody lets go what happened before, because he's a good guy. Nico's a great guy. Oh, Adrienne just handed me this. Buy my book from scottstokely.net, or you can listen to the audiobook read by Morgan Friedman, right? No?
Oh, can you do the voice?
No. Okay, it was read by me. But you know what I did? I actually looked this up. I found out that I could hire a Morgan Friedman. Is it Friedman or Friedman? Freeman. Okay, Morgan Freeman. I looked it up because I wanted to see if I could get, well, I wasn't going to get Morgan Freeman, but apparently you can hire like voice actors who do impressions of Morgan Freeman to read my book, except it was like really expensive, so I didn't do it. But wouldn't that have been great though?
No, I mean, I only get a benefit of it. You can do the voice, because then I could like have fantasies, but.
Oh, you're so sweet. Let's see. All right. I know most pros don't care about the trophies. Here it comes. But thoughts a better PDJ championship trophy like other major sports have? I don't see. Yeah, I like it. I mean, I wouldn't say most pros don't care about the trophies. I think that when you get a lot of them, like they tend to blur together. Like for me, when I was in the '90s, when I was like, I won a lot of tournaments. I would get trophies, and every one of them meant something to me because the money's gone. When the money's gone, you still have the trophy. But the thing is, I never put them up in my house, because in my house, I didn't want to be better at disc golf than my friends. I just wanted to be me. I didn't want them in the living room looking at my trophies behind me, right? So they just went into boxes, and next thing you know, I had like a dozen big old boxes filled with trophies, and so they were all important to me. But I mean, they were all nice, but I just didn't. What was I going to do with them? Especially after years and years of playing. Having a better PDJ championship trophy, I think that would be cool.
Well,
Like
isn't there
a traveling trophy, like something like really, really nice, or something that just sits at PDJ headquarters, maybe.
Yeah, isn't there a tournament that we played recently that had like everybody puts their name on it?
Different places have done that. Like I won the Yetter, the Eric C. Yetter, and I won in the Masters division, and I don't know if they put my name on the trophy, but they have they add your name every year. So there are tournaments that do that, where they have an ongoing trophy where they put your name on. But I think that I like it. I think trophies are cool. The best trophy I ever got was I won the last open tournament. I played one open tournament. No, I'm sorry. I played 4 open tournaments last year, but I won one of them. I won it was at the Fargo Open, the North Dakota State Championships or something. I think it was North Dakota State Championships in Fargo, but I won, and I won a championship belt. And I'm like an old school pro wrestling guy, so I actually had a championship belt. So sometimes I'd like wear it to restaurants. Like Tito Ortiz used to do that. He'd wear his belt for like to any appropriate reasons.
The Preserve has an ongoing trophy there.
Okay, Preserve has one there. See, I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the championship belt was the coolest, because who doesn't want to wear a championship belt? No noobs.
Nubs.
No nubs is the big change that's needed to make putting harder, not having nubs. I don't like that, because we used to complain about the nubs catching our discs, and then until I put it on a basket without nubs, and then you would have a 20-foot putt that would like skip 60 feet away. Like it was way better with nubs. No, I just think smaller, taller, I mean shorter and narrower. What disc do I throw furthest forehand with?
Right now?
Yeah, right now probably like I got a reverb in my bag that just flies perfectly straight. Well, it's not really straight. It's actually a little bit understable, but it flies mostly straight. If I need to get distance, that's what I'm throwing. If I'm trying to throw like a 500-foot sidearm, I'm going to throw the reverb. Isobel, what are the worst injuries I've had to overcome throughout my career? So I've had basically 2 injuries. One of them was I had massive lower back pain that got worse from 1992 till 2001 when I quit. And I thought it was caused by disc golf. And it wasn't caused by disc golf. I am fully convinced now that disc golf is not the cause, to a point that my back doesn't hurt at all playing disc golf right now. Here's what caused it. I'm going to demonstrate. And this is going to sound so silly, but I promise you, this is like legit. Instead of sitting like this, with my back up against things and the back arched the way it's supposed to be arched, which is it arches when I'm facing this way, the lower back should be arched this way. I would sit like this, and my lower back would arch this way, the wrong way. And I would put pressure, because I would slouch when I sat, it would put pressure on my lower back, pressing the wrong direction. Instead of my back arching correctly and having the support, it went the wrong way. That's not going to hurt you when you do it for like an hour, but every single time I sat down on a couch, I did that. Every time I sat, whenever I was reading, I used to be an avid reader. I would sit in bed for hours and read. I would lean up against the wall, slouch my back. I was on tour driving, slouch my back. That's what messed my back up. It had nothing to do with throwing. And the reason I know it had nothing to do with, or at least I believe it has nothing to do with throwing, is that when I quit playing disc golf, I had problems with my back. And the only thing I did to fix my back, and I'm talking, I've had multiple MRIs. They wanted to do surgery for years. So I have 3 ruptured discs in my back, is that as soon as I started wearing a back brace, and then I put something inside the back brace to force my back to arch like this, it didn't take long before my back started hurting. And when I sat with the correct posture, for a while, my back got better, and then it just stopped hurting all the time. So I just had to learn to sit properly. Stupid as that sounds. Once I sat properly, the back injury went away. But I wasn't playing disc golf either. Well, when I came back to disc golf and started playing every day and touring every day, but I sat properly when driving with lower back support, and I would sit properly, I don't have back problem throwing at 53 years old. I had a back problem when I was 25. So it wasn't the throwing. I thought it was. It was correlation, not causation. So that's the one injury. The only other injury I've ever had that actually was caused by throwing was, I thought it was rotator cuff. Someone said it was bursa sac, but basically right here from throwing overhands, from throwing thumbers. And it just happened at one tournament. I was in a tournament in Seattle, and I did something. I didn't throw it wrong, but it felt a little tender. But instead of stopping and resting it, I finished the tournament, and this particular course had a lot of thumber holes. I kept throwing thumbers throughout the tournament, and then I had to take like 6 months off. That's the only real injury I've had, is from throwing overhands. Let's see. Need to know what my bowling average was. What do you think of the So I was averaging around 215. So first off, it's funny, when I grew up in bowling alleys when I was a kid. So when I was 15 years old, I was averaging about 190, which doesn't sound very good. Even at 15 years old, it's not very good in today's game. But we were still bowling with rubber balls. Urethane balls had just come out, the angle, the hammer. but urethane balls hadn't come out. Bowling with rubber balls is not the same as urethane, and the the reactive resins they have now are just like, it changes the game. So when I was bowling like 5 days a week, I was a 190 bowler. That was high level. And then when I quit, I came back at like 40 years old, and within just going to league once a week, I was like 210, just because the technology had changed. I'm sure I was better when I was 12 than I was when I was 40, but the equipment had gotten better. But I have not thrown. Well, I mean, everything Castoplasm makes is good, but I'm not super familiar with those. Am I moving to Europe? So I'm not moving to Europe because I'm not moving anywhere. I'm never going to have a home. I will be homeless for the rest of my life. I am going to spend. I'm going to spend the entire 2023 European Pro Tour and the Europe PDGA Europe, all those events in Europe. So I will spend the entire year in Europe of 2023. And I'll be honest, like based on how I kind of picture my life going, I'll probably be in Europe all of 2024 also. So I think I'll be in Europe for about 8 months next year and 8 months the year after, but I'm not moving anywhere. Like I'm gonna keep going. And actually I'll tell you why, because I want to be someplace warm in the winter. And so this winter it's Australia and New Zealand, and then we're going to go to Southeast Asia over the winter, and then doing the European tour. But then at the end of the tour next year, like in October, our plan is to go to India and Africa. And I'm going to spend the winter in India and Africa. Well, if I spend the winter in India and Africa, all of a sudden comes spring.
Probably gonna go to Japan.
Oh, I'd probably go to Japan in the spring, but then I'm gonna like, why wouldn't I just go back to Europe? Like I've done the U.S. I've done the U.S. so much, so I think it makes more sense to go back to some place that I'm not. There's so many places in Europe I have. Like after I do a whole season in Europe, there's still a million places that I haven't seen in Europe. So, not moving anywhere, but that's the plan. Can you do a quick bag review before you sign off, please, and thanks? A bag review?
In the bag?
Like, well, okay, can you clarify? Do you mean reviewing a type of bag or like doing it in the bag? Clarify for me. Do they not call time violations the wind? It was windy at Maple Hill, and it seemed some players were taking extra long deciding shots. That's a tough one. There's not a player on tour that hasn't broken the 30-second rule, and probably every single tournament. Like we've all done it. It's a difficult thing because, yeah, you're not supposed to go over 30 seconds. Well, if it's a gusty day and I step up to my lie and I go to line up and the wind's howling, I'm going to reconsider my disc and I'm going to go back to my bag. And you know what? It might turn out, no, I guess I am going to throw the same disc I was going to throw, but I bought myself 15 seconds for the wind gust to slow down. And if the wind gust slows down, perfect, I'll throw without the wind. And if it turns out that I went 5 seconds over the 30 seconds, well, whatever. No one's going to really call that. Is like, am I breaking the rules? Yes, I'm breaking them in the exact same way every single other player is. We're all gonna kind of push these a little bit. There's a difference between like moving your lie, breaking the rules, and doing something that's a bit more subjective. When does time actually start? It's not the same thing. It's like if you're in the NFL and you're an offensive lineman, yeah, you're kind of gonna hold. Like holding happens on every play. How much holding? Well, if you're a cornerback, are you touching past the 5-yard line and grab it a little bit? Yeah, but you can kind of get away with it. It's not cheating. It's kind of like you're playing within the rules, in a way that's kind of it's just acceptable. So it is a really tough thing. It's tough. It's tough in the wind. Generally speaking, if someone isn't doing it excessive, no one notices, and honestly, none of the other players care. Nobody's like, oh, that's bullshit. He just took 35 seconds. Like, no, like nobody's even thinking that. No one's thinking he went 7 seconds too long, but No, I don't want to call him. I don't want to argue. Like no one's thinking it. It's only when it's absolutely excessive and repeated is that do people care.
Isn't it kind of like driving 5 miles over the speed limit? Like you kind of pretty much get away with it, but if you're following the flow of traffic, you probably just
that's a good example. Yeah, 5 miles an hour over the speed limit is breaking the law. But if everybody's going 5 miles over the speed limit, you're just going to the flow of traffic. You know, look, everybody breaks the time violation, and I mean everybody. So, you know, as long as it's not excessive.
Everybody went slower. You know?
When it's raining, they go slower, and you know, here when you're playing a course blind, like if I'm playing a course blind for the first time, and I say me, any other player, I step up to my lie and the hole's blind. I'll say, "Can I just run up real quick?" No one ever says no, but no one's ever going to say no to them either. You're stuck playing a tournament blind. We all have been in that position before. We all know what it's like. We all give concessions to each other. It's only when it's excessive that it's an issue. Now, the definition of excessive is completely subjective, and it's why it's a tough rule. It sucks. Any solid advice for reworking putting form? Try to eliminate bad habits. You're going to hate me for this, but I have a 6-month online class. The next class starts in November. The thing about throwing things is that with a lot of questions, there's not one tip. I do 2 solid 1-hour classes on putting. So yeah, there are things like, I'll fix all your bad habits. I'll fix 100% of your bad habits, and they were all going to work. Cole Redallion, he's posted about this several times, but he was having problems with his putting. By the way, he's like a 10-28 player out on tour, right? He was having problems with his putting. He brought it to my attention. I took him and his mom. He's only 17 years old, so I took him and his mom out to dinner. I said, send me a video of your putting. I took one look at it. I said, I know exactly what you're doing. And he's like, well, I think it's mental. I'm like, it's not mental. I promise you, it's 100% mechanical. I can see exactly what you're doing. I showed it to him. He understood exactly what I was saying. And today at the tournament, he was 100% circle one in the wind, because it was just mechanical. I know what I'm doing, but as far as like giving advice, there isn't like one magic bullet, right? Or is that the right word, magic bullet? There's not one magic bullet. It's like I spend 2 full days breaking down your putting form. First off, breaking it down into its basic elements, having you learn the mechanics of different putts to figure out how your body moves. Like it's a process. So, was the Halloween Stokely on stilts?
Nobody had blue hair.
No, but he had blue hair, and he wrote disc golf on his knuckles. That's funny though, right? Okay, here. Perfect segue. You mean on stilts like these? Wait, you can't see it. Like those stilts? By the way, that light in the background, there we go. That's even better. That's the this is the Stokely Universe discs. All 3 of these are available at scottstokely.net. These are all Discraft ESP buzzes. And you can buy all 3 of them at scottstokely.net. And I have a few signed discs left. If you want something, tour discs of mine that are signed, there's a couple left. And when they're gone, I don't know. Like, I'm not planning a trip back to the shop. So it could be like years before there's more signed discs of mine available. I don't. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can also get the Stokely Universe shirts. By the way, this is the coolest shirts ever. Also available at scottstokely.net. But seriously, there's not many signed discs left. And when they're gone, I'm leaving the country. If I stick around the second year, then it's going to be at least 30 months before I'm back in the U.S., except I'm going to come back for Worlds next year. But aside from that, it could be 2.5 years before I'm back in the U.S. And if that's the case, there's not going to be any signed discs of mine. So, and there's literally like there were a half dozen left to start today at scottstokely.net. As coverage increases for non-league cards, how will the pace of play be affected? I feel like it's good to have smoothly paced play, waiting for cameramen to get positioned, kills to flow. Yeah, that's just, you have to live with it. As far as waiting for cameramen to get position. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be because our sport is at a point now where we have so many camera people and cameras mounted on trees, and like we don't have a camera crew waiting on the next hole and then they're leapfrogging each other. Like they have the pro tour has to work with what they got. So here's what I would do. It doesn't mess up the flow. The players don't care about the flow of play. Like that's just part of being on, like I was on the future card at Butler first round, and waiting for the cameraman is just like it. Like you do it without even thinking because you just know, like I'm going to throw a good shot and I want to make sure it's on camera. So it doesn't really bother us. And as far as the viewers, it's just like here's what I have to say about the live coverage. It gets better every single year. Like if you have a problem with the live coverage now, look at it from a couple of years ago and you'll be like, holy crap, these guys are doing a really good job. Same thing with the commentary. Like people are like, well, the commentary is not as good as it should be. Go back a few years and it is so much improved. The same people doing it a couple of years ago have gotten so much better. So yeah, it's all, I love the way it's going now. Yep. Okay, perfect. Message me. I mean, you can message me. I don't know any. I mean, you can send me the idea for the trophy, but I would, if it's a good idea, I'll just refer you to tell you to go to the PDJ. Don't mind hearing it. By the way, send me some weird questions. I want some weird questions. These disc golf questions. Let's see. I bought Tour Series Berg at the Skinsy one. It's breaking in DX style, really warpy, and I bend it back to float. Is this a good thing, or do I replace it? From a guy in a Raiders shirt. You know I'm from Denver, right?
So do you lie to the Raiders shirt?
Why would I give good advice to anybody? No. The reason why you give good advice to someone wearing a Raiders shirt is because if you don't, they might stab you. Yes, that's true. Raiders fans stab. In fact, I believe the exact definition is Raiders fans are stabby. That's a word, right?
Are they more stabby than Lions fans?
Are Raiders fans more stabby than Lions fans? Raiders fans would dice up Lions fans.
I don't know about that. Detroit is...
Yeah, Detroit is a tougher city, but Raiders fans, they're felons. You can't even wear... Okay, Detroit. They do background checks. If you go to buy... This is true. The Raiders fan will tell me this. If you go to buy a Raiders jersey, you got to do a 2-week background check to prove that you are a felon.
To get it.
Yeah, you can't buy a Raiders jersey if you're not a felon. Like, it doesn't matter. You get like 7 misdemeanors.
Well, they said Lions fans are shooty, not stabby.
They said Lions fans are shooty? Yeah, there you go.
Concede. Okay.
All right. So, yeah. By the way, a Jags fan in Colorado going to the Raiders game, it's yeah, you're going to get stabbed. Just plan on getting it. Wear like Kevlar to a Raiders. I would never go to a Raiders game. I would literally dress up like a Raiders fan at a Raiders game just to avoid getting stabbed. And then I'd be like cheering the Raiders while secretly going, boo. But I wouldn't say it loud. So anyways, all right. So what does this have to do with the disc, Berg. You triggered me on the Raiders fan things just because of their stabbiness. That's another word I just made up, stabbiness. No, so they do. The Tour Series Bergs get really warpy. I love that because when they become understable. Like I got an orange Tour Series Berg in my bag that I throw more than my brand new K1 because it turns slowly, but then it keeps turning. There's a shot where I threw. It was my third shot on a par 5 that I needed to qualify for the Green Mountain Championships. I needed 11th place to qualify for the Green Mountain Championships. I needed to birdie holes 16 and 17 to finish the round because hole 18's hard. I wasn't going to birdie 8. Well, you can, but it's unlikely. And I threw the most amazing sidearm Anheuser-Berg shot with a beat up, the K3 plastic bird, and it's just a slow, gradual turn. It's perfect. Yeah. So,
and this guy's a cooking nomad. Like, What does he put?
You're a cooking nomad. Okay, and cooking nomad. Let me know what cooking nomad means. Let's see. Will I be as active on social media in Europe and Africa to ride along on their journey? Oh my God, yes. I will. I am going to be documenting the entire thing. You know, I'm not going over to Europe because I'm like just going to build my European audience. It's like, no, I expect. So here, okay. So let me tell you, like, I want to go to Europe because I want to travel. I want to see these places, right? But let me tell you the business side of what I'm doing as far as Europe. So this year, out on the pro tour, the 53-year-old old pro coming back to tour. Can he win? Can he compete with the kids? It's a great story, and a lot of people have enjoyed following it. And I think objectively, I think it is an interesting story. As it turns out, I've had 2 top 10s at A tiers, an 11th place, you know, as my highest DGPT finish. Not really in contention to win. I've had a lot of tournaments on the pro tour where I'm going into the last day. I need to shoot a 10-20 round to cash, or I'm trying to make the cut. From a player's perspective, it's exciting. I'm getting to compete and like, hey, I'm, you know, just cashing against these kids is amazing. And I think it's an interesting story to follow. But I don't think that story is as interesting next year. Like, if I'm winning tournaments, I'm an interesting story every year. I mean, if you're following Paul and Ricky every weekend, you're tuning in to see if they can win. They're your guy, right? It's interesting. But in my opinion, if I came back out next year and I'm also competing for last place money and I'm competing just to make the cut, I don't think the interest is there. The business part of me says that's not an interesting story the second time around. So I needed to change the story. And so my original idea to go to Europe, the business idea to go to Europe was, well, I need to tell a different story. And so the story is, let me go compete on the European tour, bring everybody there with me, and hopefully people will follow me in Europe and see how I can do on the European Pro Tour, because the players out there are really, really good. But it is a takedown from the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and some of the best Europeans are over here. So as good as the play is over there, I don't see why I'm not on some lead cards going into the final day next year. I believe I'm going to be. I think that's an interesting story.
It's going to be all new.
I'm going to document new courses and new people and new cities and new adventures and all the off the course stuff. So I just think I'm telling a more interesting story next year. But I'm definitely telling a story. My entire business is centered around people following my story. So yeah, I'll be very active. Plus, I love everybody that's following me. Like, y'all matter to me.
So it was about the discs, by the way.
What?
The bag review. He's asking about discs.
A quick bag review about what discs I throw.
Yeah. Your Tour Series stuff.
Yeah, my Tour Series discs. There, I'll tell you what. I won't do them all, but I'll give you the quick rundown. Berg, best approach disc ever made. It doesn't fly. If you throw it too hard, it doesn't go long. It basically stops underneath the target. This is the best approach disc ever. I switched to the Marvel this year. I went from like 103rd in putting to like top 30 in putting, or top 40 in putting. As soon as I switched to this disc, I love the Marvel as a putter. It's a beadless, it's like a P2 beadless disc, beadless putter. And by the way, I use the stiff plastic. They made the stiff plastic just for me. The Wizard, I like long putts. Whenever I get outside of a circle, like not necessarily circle one, but outside 40 feet, I putt better with these. I don't know why, but I've done thousands and thousands of putts, and I track the results. That's how I determine which putters to switch to when I changed putters this year, and the Wizard came out on top. It flies perfectly straight. And the Lutz is my slightly understable disc. I use this for hyzer flips when I don't want to have an extreme angle hyzer flip. So a slight hyzer up to flat. So I'll throw those 4 in there.
They're available.
Oh, available. Yeah, available at scottstokely.net.
And you can watch the in the bag review videos of each of those on your.
Oh yeah, and you can see that. Oh, and I have an in the bag on each of those. You can see it at scottstokely.net as well.
They're linked from the product pages.
From the product pages. Really?
Yeah.
So apparently I'm doing a really good job building my website.
Somebody is.
What kind of course is my favorite to play on? Ball golf, wooded, shorter holes with tactical lines. Favorite course I could design. That's a slam dunk, easiest answer in the world for me. My favorite course is really, really difficult woods courses. Not short, long. Northwoods Black, perfect example, par 70. Where? The tournament at Butler. That's a par 71 course. I finished 11th place in the tournament, and I shot 9 under for 3 rounds. 9 under for 3 rounds put me in 11th place at a disc golf pro tour event. And I think I averaged like 1020 something like that. Par, like 71 was like 1,010 rated. That's what I like. I like really, really, really hard woods courses. Northwood Black is probably the best long woods course I've ever played. Can't say probably. It's the best long woods course I've ever played. But I got a special place in my heart for Butler North Boundary. That course is really great. It's just there's like a little bit of luck involved. They need to remove just a couple trees, but it's a great course. By the way, feel free to send the silly questions up as well too.
You can get there.
Oh, are they? Okay. Why is Georgia disc golf courses so ready golf historically? The Alden, Robinson brothers and Alden walk up and chuck after one warm-up swing every time.
So do you.
Do I?
You don't even warm up swing.
They just like walk up and throw?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose that if players live in an area, they emulate the other players in the area. So like the culture would be people would play like somebody. I mean, that's actually not uncommon. Like in the old days, before the internet, players threw what the top pro in the state threw. Like whatever disc they threw. There a lot of times their forms or putting forms looked alike, because why wouldn't you play like the best player you saw? So that makes sense.
That's one of the things I was thinking about. Like the Pro Tour has, photographers that come around, and there's a lot of like really, really good shots of certain players, because I think they're photographing them when they're lining up and they're pointing at
Right.
the gap, or they're like,
Right.
like practice swings. And then other players, like they get up, they step, they throw, and there's like not really.
You don't get the best shots. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, hold on. I got to show you guys something amazing. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to show you guys something so cool. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Actually, all I have to show you is my book. I went to go pee, and I didn't want anybody to leave while I was in the bathroom, so I pretended that I had something cool to show you.
Told you.
Well, I didn't really fool you, because it is cool. It's my autobiography. Available at scottstokely.net and the audio version. All right.
I thought you were getting them to get the barbecue sauce, but then I realized that
The barbecue sauce is in the
it's
car.
in the truck.
Yeah, I didn't leave it. Yeah, I got barbecue sauce at scottstokely.net as well. Best barbecue sauce ever made, according to every single. Well, let's say this: if you don't watch those traveling cooking shows and barbecue shows, then my barbecue sauce has appeared on every one of them. So if you've never seen those shows, trust me, they're on every one. Especially the one with the guy with the white hair.
What are you talking about? Guy Fieri.
I don't know who they are. I don't watch cooking shows. Like I will never. I'm going to offend somebody in the room here, but I will never not have something better to do than to watch someone cook.
That's fair.
Fair.
I could never be eating.
Hey, we really enjoyed the other tour video a couple weeks ago. Is there a tour for rec intermediate players that wants to tour their state and surrounding states? No, that's the thing about the tour is you make up your own tour. Like touring just means you're out playing disc golf for a living. You don't have to do anything. Like, you don't have to I mean, you can, okay, there's the national amateur. I think those are a series of events. And forgive me, Dave Feldberg. I'm not familiar with exactly how formal those are. The NADGC.
Yeah, they have
The NADGC has a formal amateur tour.
a series of events that happen in different places.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
it's
if
a series
like,
of events.
I'm not sure if they follow a sequence so that you
Yeah.
can travel along the tour, but they do have them in all
Here's
different regions.
but here's my recommendation. Here's another idea. Like, and if you want to get involved in that's like the highest level amateur series and the highest level pro series, the DGPT, right? So I'm not saying not to do those, but here's another option. Pull up a map of the U.S. and list all the places you want to go. You want to go to the Grand Canyon? Cool. When's there a tournament at Flagstaff? You want to go to Glacier National Park? When's there a tournament at Farragut in North Idaho? You want to go to the San Juan Islands? Find a tournament in Seattle. Like, find the experiences, the life experiences you want to have, and then find tournaments around those, because every tournament's good. And just because one says B tier, one says C tier, doesn't mean the B tier is like all of a sudden better than the C tier. It just means you have a certain amount of added cash and there's no other B tiers within a certain area, but it doesn't mean that it's a better event with better people, better courses, or anything. So you don't have to limit yourself to that. If you want to do a real series, then the NADGC, I think, would be awesome. I only say this because I'm very good friends with Dave Feldberg, who runs it, and anything he does would be great. But you can also just go to places you want to go to and experiences you want to have, or courses you want to play, or friends that you want to go see. That's a tour. What's wrong with Cole's putting? Just curious. Oh, it's just something mechanical. It would be hard. It would be hard to describe and show. I just saw the way his body was moving. A lot of this is art, not science. As far as, it's not like he did something I could tell you. When I saw it, I could see the way his body was moving. The thing is with my teaching is this is all I do. I'm so shallow, and I'm not supposed to say I'm shallow. It sounds bad, but I'm really shallow. I'm obsessed. Shallow.
Dedicated.
Shallow. I'm shallow. I'm obsessed with teaching disc golf. I'm obsessed with being the best in the world at teaching disc golf. I'm obsessed with understanding the mechanics of disc golf. And
you a one-trick pony?
No, I got two tricks. I also like to play.
Oh, okay.
I like to play disc golf too, but that's not where I make my living. I make my living being the best teacher in the game. So when I watch someone's body move, I can identify ways that they're not moving correctly. Like, we don't move every direction the same, with the same fluidity and the same strength and the same flexibility and and there's physics involved, and there's probabilities, and there's geometry involved. There's a lot of stuff going on where you're fighting against your own body if you're doing something the wrong way. And a player could do the wrong form or have a problem with their form, and they could do it for 30 years and they're never going to get past that. That'll always be a barrier. But you turn their body the right direction, and all of a sudden now their shoulder is moving the way it wants to move instead of fighting against how it's trying to prevent itself from moving. And all of a sudden, that throw just like that works. So yeah, so it's there's no simple answer that I could just explain. It's just that when I watch someone, I see cartoon bubbles pop off them. When I see someone throw, I can look at them and I can tell you right off the bat, I know exactly what you're doing wrong. I blow people's mind. Adrian will tell you this. I blow people's mind when I think the seminars. Someone will do one throw and I'll say, "You about 920 rated?" And they're like, 926. How can you tell off one throw? It's this is all I do, And then when I watch someone throw, I do this all the time. I watch them throw and I go, okay, so you miss a lot to the left when you throw, but every once in a while you pull it up high. And they're like, how the hell could you tell that? Because I didn't throw one to the left or up high. And I'm like, because the way you throw, your mechanics, that's where the disc is going to go a percentage of the time. Or another big one is I'll tell somebody that's been playing for 3 years and they throw it, and I'll tell them, I go, you got better for 6 months, then it stopped. They're like, what? How can you say, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And it's yeah, because with the way you throw, you had a ceiling that was here, and after 6 months, you hit your ceiling. And you could play for 10 more years. You're never getting past this ceiling until we fix the thing that gives your ceiling up here. And then all of a sudden now you start getting better towards that. So 40 feet, 45 feet out. Are you a straddle or a push? Neither. Very few people are those. Most people are traditional spin putters at that distance to get the extra distance. I can push putt and I can straddle putt from 45 feet. But with both of those putts, I'm having to put so much effort into it that I'm jabbing my shot. Like when you putt, you want it to be smooth. You don't want to be like really going like aggressively at it. You still want it to be smooth, and you can't be smooth on a straddle putt or a push putt from 45 feet. But a spin putt, you can be very smooth. Evelina needs to take your class because in 2 rounds of Maypillow, she's already missed 19 circle one putts. The rest of her game is so good, though. Hey, Evelyn. Hey, Evelyn is fantastic. I'm a big fan. She's as good of a driver as there's ever been in women's disc golf. You know, it's yeah. Anyone that wants to work with me, I'll work with. Do I ever wake up thinking about the Eagles crossing shot? I would. Yeah. Here's what's funny. I wake up. I have anxiety over missing that. Like if I watch the video, I'm afraid I'm gonna miss. Sounds so stupid, but I have this paranoia that like what would have happened if I would have missed? Like would I ever live that down? I'm talking about the putt, not the shot. If I missed the shot, big deal. It was an impossible shot. But I keep replaying like the what if scenario with the missed putt. I don't know if that's a psychological hindrance or if it's one of the things that's made me good because of that paranoia of missing that putt has made me work really hard not to miss those putts very often. What's your favorite Denver, Colorado course? God, not a whole lot of, the courses in Denver are the front range courses. Like none of them are the types of golf I like. I would much rather go up to Beaver Ranch or Bailey or somewhere up there and play in the mountains. Probably Village Green, but Village Green's, that's like, it's really easy. It's a really easy course. It's just basically everything's wide open. Most of the holes are like under 350 wide open. There's not like you just step up and throw to the basket. So I would say only my favorite because when I came back to the sport, that's the course I played the most because it was the one closest to where I worked at Fly Green. So Paul McBeth said he could beat me in a fist fight. Do I agree? No. I love Paul. Paul can beat me on every disc golf course in the world at disc golf. Weird question. Should somebody on death row be saved if he has a heart attack just before?
If he's going to die on death row, do you resuscitate?
Wow, that's a really deep, heavy-duty question. All right, you want a heavy-duty answer? You want me to get serious for I'll get serious for 30 seconds.
It's supposed to be weird. Are you going to be serious? You're going to answer
I'm going to answer a serious question. No, don't. I'm going to give it serious answers. Ready for this one? I have no problem with not only people who murder, but there's also a whole list of other crimes. I would have zero problem whatsoever with someone who committed those crimes being put to death. Zero problem whatsoever with eliminating certain people from the face of the earth. And I'm absolutely against the death penalty because I think the justice system is so screwed up that I think we get it wrong far more frequently. A lot of people think it's frequently, so I can't say that anybody thinks, but I think we screw it up. The Innocence Project has proved that 25% of the people on death row that got exonerated through DNA evidence were forced into signing false confessions. We know that innocent people have been murdered in the death penalty. So I am not squeamish at all against eliminating certain people from planet Earth, but I hate the death penalty because I don't trust the justice system to get it right. And I don't think innocent people should ever be killed. How about that? There, did I get deep enough for y'all? A cooking nomad. You're on the road with the pro tour, eating unhealthily, ran into health issues. I was on the road with the pro tour, eating unhealthy, ran into health issues, swelling out, how to be. So I wanted to make a channel on how to cook on the road healthy, propane, pocket burner, and cooler. Yeah, do it. Make a channel. I think it's awesome.
That's what cooking nomad means.
Okay, so that's his channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So there's a channel called, if you've already started, called Cooking Nomad. I think it's fantastic. Find your passion, and if it's something that you, if there's something that you can promote, and I think it's fantastic. Look, I'm a big fan of taking care of your body and being healthy, and like I am, I don't have a problem. I think when you're younger, it's okay to abuse your body somewhat when you're younger. I mean, we're resilient, and you're only in your 20s once. Go have a blast. But at some point, that's not sustainable. At some point, you gotta not abuse your body anymore if you want to have a happy, longer existence, right? So I'm all about being healthy, but not to a point where I think that you're not supposed to enjoy yourself. I like the weird questions, by the way. I never got a death penalty question on a live stream before.
Yeah, you're gonna like the next one.
Okay. Ever poop my pants in a tournament? I've never pooped my pants in a tournament. Okay, so I've never done that. But I will share an embarrassing story. Oh boy, think this is why I like sponsoring myself, because oh my God. Okay, y'all want to see? This is going to be horrible. I'm going to do it anyways. You guys are going to, please don't. Oh, what the heck. All right. So I haven't pooped my pants in a tournament, but I am going to share something that was embarrassing to me. So oh God, I can't believe I'm going to share this. Okay. I'm going to share it with you, 59 people, but tell nobody. So I was at the, I got to get down low because I got the camera lower for this. So I was at the Masters Cup back in 1987 or something. You know the story. And I was at De La Vega, and De La Vega has poison oak now, but it used to have massive amounts of poison oak. And I was 15 years old, right? So you imagine every other 15-year-old boy out there, I was insecure, easily embarrassed. We've all been 15, right? So
awkward.
Yeah. So it's an awkward age. Anyways, I was there for a few days. I got poison oak. All over my body. And I mean, all over my body, especially those areas where one might sweat, other than the armpits. Do I make myself clear? Okay. So I got poison oak really badly. Well, I still remember the hole. At the time, it was hole 6B. I walked over to take a leak during the round. I was going over to pee, and it itched, right? I itched. So basically, I did something like this. I walked over to pee, and as I'm peeing, I started scratching myself. Oh, then I really started scratching myself, and then all of a sudden I heard everybody behind me laughing. I turned around, and my entire car was looking at me. And I pulled my pants up, and I'm like, well, no, I was going pee. I swear I was going pee. And they were just rolling, hysterically laughing. And if that happened now, I would be like, well, hey, I could care less what anybody thinks now. I'm a grown man. I don't care what people think. Nor would it embarrass me. But when I was 15 years old, I was traumatized by this for I don't know how long, but yeah, that was a horrible day in my life. There. So no, I've never pooped at a tournament, but now I've shared my most embarrassing tournament story with you. By the way, I can tell on the video if that.
It worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a true story, y'all. I was absolutely humiliated. What are people going to say? Okay. I don't know why I shared that story. But now it's live on the internet. I can't take it back. What kind of grip do I use for approach backhand? I just grip it like this. It's just a fan grip. I like to squeeze the disc with my pinky against the hand and just basically grip it like you're fanning yourself. Hi, Scott. Play well in the tournament tomorrow. Still trying to throw that sidearm like in your video. Your onside elbow has pain when you throw. And inside. Your inside elbow has pain when you throw, and just after. Are you taking my class? Let me know if you're taking my class, and then I'll answer your question based on that. So when Eons writes back. ESPN2 broadcast some disc golf last year. Why do you suppose they did nothing this year? Honestly, like the idea that we need ESPN is like such an old-fashioned way of thinking. Like, I'm not saying you're an old-fashioned way of thinking, but like traditionally getting on ESPN, getting on TV was the holy grail of disc golf, and it's not even relevant anymore. Like, it's no different than like if you're making films and it's like you used to need a major Hollywood studio, now you don't. You know, if you were a musician, you need to be on a major label, and now you don't. Like, there's so much out there we can do independently. We don't need ESPN anymore. I could care less if we ever got on ESPN. Those are all sports, and they're all dying sports, in my opinion. And by dying, they're not really dying, but they're like how many people out there play football? How many 50-year-olds out there are playing football? We've got a million 50-year-olds playing disc golf. We're crushing. So I don't have a problem with that. So why don't they do this year? I mean, I don't know, but like, honestly, it's not even on my radar. Like, we got our whole idea of doing this internally is the coolest thing ever. By the way, the minute you get with one of those companies, like, you sign your soul away. Like, you don't have control over your product anymore. I remember, like, when the UFC went on to Fox, the people at Fox they started telling Joe Rogan how to commentate fights. The best sports commentator in the history of sports, the best fight commentator, the best color person in the fight game, like, hands down, like, is Joe Rogan. Like he's the best. And Fox tried to tell him how to broadcast differently. It's like, you're out of your mind. Like no, I think keeping it independent is the absolute way to go. So yeah, so I don't know why they didn't, but it's like, who cares? You just watched the How to Throw Sidearm video, no class. Sorry. Okay, that's no problem. Number one, take my class. Starts in November. Go to scottstokely.net to get on the mailing list. They'll be first to be notified. We spend an entire month on nothing but the sidearm. There's a lot to it. The sidearm video isn't the entire how to throw sidearm. It's the one that has the most views is the 3 big tips. I got a video on not serving the pizza. I got a video about the myth of the elbow close to the body, but none of that has the whole throw. It also doesn't have the step-by-step process that I teach you to throw. Now, just because here's what I always say about the sidearm is that even if you throw the sidearm correctly, it can hurt right here. Okay, this is the opposite of the backhand. This is just my opinion, I'm not a doctor, but based on my experience, my decades of experience doing this, I think you can throw backhands your entire life and never have it hurt. Mechanically, backhands are super low impact. I don't expect you to ever hurt throwing backhands, ever, when thrown properly. When you throw sidearms properly, it can still hurt right here. And if you throw up here, up high overhand, or big anhyzers, you can actually still hurt here on your sidearm. So sidearms, just the nature of the throw, don't lend themselves to being completely pain-free. But with proper technique, it should be, well, it might be no pain, and it might be low pain, and not an injury. But pain can come with the sidearm, even if you do it right. More fun, rewarding now, early in the career? God, that's really hard to say. Like, I mean, I'm having more fun than I've ever had in my entire life. But I can't imagine. I think there's something called recency bias. It's the reason why we think every UFC champion is like the best champion in the history of the division now. Like, I mean, we have this bias towards this. We all do. It's why we think music sucks, right? Or that's the opposite reason. Scratch that last statement. I got my old age thoughts confused. But we have recency bias. Honestly, I can't imagine it ever being more fun than my first year out on tour, because the novelty of it, like I'm playing frisbee golf for a living, that was just crazy. But I've also, what I'm not sure of is at that point in my life, I didn't have some of the struggles I've had since then that I've come back from. So my appreciation of life in general is probably more now than it's ever been. In fact, I'm sure it's more now than it's ever been. So I may be enjoying it as much as ever. Darn, I just non-committal answer. Any good courtesy violation stories? God, I say I got one, but I don't want to. I'm sorry. Don't even ask me. I'm not going to tell the story because it's a friend of mine, and I don't want to throw him under the bus. But I guess. But I will. I won't tell you who it was. I gave a courtesy violation to a player because, like, he was like running away the tournament, and next thing you know, like he was just putting great. He was making everything like and next thing you know, I'm in second place, but he's like 7 strokes ahead with 2 holes to go. I mean, the tournament was completely over. And he throws in like another 40-foot putt. And it goes perfectly in, lands in the basket, and it sits in the basket. And while it's sitting in the basket, I walk up to him and I'm like, bounce out, bounce out, bounce out. Right? It was already not moving. He's up by 7 with like 2 holes to go. Like, it was so stupid. I was like, bounce out. Like, it was just having fun, right? And then next thing you know, he like goes off on me. He's like, dude, why would you do that? Why are you trying to make this, like, why do you want my disc to bounce out? That's so unsportsmanlike. And I'm like, fuck you. I like go, that's a warning. I grabbed my, by that, I shouldn't swear. I think it was my exact, it's the only time I've ever got mad on a disc golf course in 30 years, by the way, where I've actually like blown up at somebody one time in 30 years. I was like, I couldn't believe he was like taking that seriously. He was laying into me. So I gave him a big old warning on his scorecard for a courtesy violation. I'm like, you get a warning for this because, you know, clearly I was just playing around, and I then I took a pencil and I made a W like really big on the card. Like, that's literally the only time I've ever anyone's ever seen me mad on a disc golf course in 30 years. That's the 0 other times that it happened. But I couldn't believe he started chewing me out, like for making a joke after he's like he ran away and won the tournament. He's my friend. Yeah. How many aces have I had this year? Have I had one this year?
You had one at the last one that I know of.
Was it Sandy Point?
Was that, yeah.
So 0. But in my defense,
you had black ace at.
Shut up.
Oh.
No, in my defense though, like I'm only playing courses where, like, you know, every hole's like there's like the par 3s are like 460 feet. Like a lot of them, there's a lot of like 300, like 70-foot wooded holes. So, yeah. Who's in my top 5 using forehands on tour right now? Besides myself, obviously. I like the way you think, Big Rick. Or do they call you Big Richard? Huh? The best sidearms on tour. God, it's so tough because everybody's sidearm is so damn good. It's Chandler Kramer, top of the list. Like, that's an obvious one. That's really simple, easy. Chandler Kramer. But God, everybody's good. Tristan Tanner's is really good. I would say I would probably have the next one. Number 2 would probably be Chris Clemens. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. He's so good. But God, they're all good. Albert Tam's really good. And like, no one has everyone's sidearm's really good. I mean, everyone's kind of in the same category. They're all great. You know, yeah, Nate Sexton's up there and Jeremy Colling obviously are up there. those guys are great. But there's also some of the bias might be they've been around longer. Like everyone's got a good sidearm now, just about. So even the players that don't have a good sidearms like Simon, like not known for his sidearm, he's got a great sidearm. Like his sidearm would have been the second best sidearm in the world in the 90s. Ever dissed in northern Michigan? I've been up to Traverse City. That was Minnesota. Have I played in the Upper Peninsula?
No, we drove through the Upper Peninsula, but we spent the entire time trying to find accommodations because everything was sold out.
We went to the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. What we were doing, we were trying to find this place that was a bear rescue.
Yeah.
Some dude had a bunch of bears in his backyard, and we went to his rescue. Traverse City is the only one I played in Upper Michigan.
That's northern Michigan. That works. It's not UP. So.
When playing casual around with friends, do I encourage the women play with you and root them on, even if they suck? Okay, so I root everybody on all the time, to the point where people might like think I'm fake. Like I'm so glasses half full positive all the time that I've been called fake before, because they don't know that that's just the way I am all the time. I root everybody on. I don't think anybody sucks. Like everybody's at a certain point of the learning curve. And if you're at a certain point in the learning curve, it's like, well, I can't say nobody sucks. Some people do suck, but it's like, it's okay to suck because you're new. It's like everyone sucks when they're new, like everybody. So I always root everybody on. I only hang out with people that are like that. I don't hang out with negative people like ever. But I don't play really casual rounds ever. Like I'm always just training for tournaments on courses. So I'm really just playing the courses that I'm on. But yeah, everything's like, I'm annoyingly positive all the time. I'll tell you. So I'll tell you a funny story. This has nothing to do with disc golf, but this is a great story. I was in, before I left from Denver. You know the story about the woman that freaked out at the coffee shop and walked down on me?
No.
Did I tell you about this one?
I'm not sure.
The one she walked out mid conversation. So I took this woman out. We went out for the evening. We had a great night. Like the next day or the day after, whatever, we got back together for coffee, and we're sitting there having coffee at this coffee shop. Everything's going great. We clicked, and like it's just sometimes things click, right? So things were clicking, and we were enjoying each other's company. And I was telling her how. And I think I was getting to the point where I was telling her that like, yeah, and if you want, if we keep hitting it off, I'll just take you all over the road with me. It won't cost you any money. You can just have fun. Sound familiar, Adriana? Right?
Kind of my life.
It's kind of what we do, right?
Yeah.
And and I was talking to her and right in the middle of the conversation, I mean, like literally like mid-sentence, mid-cup of coffee, she looks at me and she goes, nope, not falling for it. And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? She's like, no one's this nice. I don't buy it for a second. And I'm like, I thought she was joking. And she was like, she got angry at me. Like she just discovered this thing. She's like, I'm not going to fall for it. No one's this nice. You're totally full of shit. And I was like, did I remember the story?
Yeah, no, I did.
Yeah, because I told you about it.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was like, when I realized she wasn't joking, I go, well, wait a second here. I have an idea for you. And I was still thinking it was going to, I didn't think it was going to be a problem. I was like, I got a great idea for you. I go, how about this? How about you keep hanging out with me, right? And if you keep hanging out with me, as long as I'm continue to be nice, you keep hanging out with me. But the first sign that I'm not as nice as I seem, the first sign that I'm condescending towards you, or the first sign that I get angry at you, or the first sign that I'm like, I cheat on you, I don't know, whatever. The first time I do something wrong, then you pack up your bags and you bail. I said, but on the outside chance that maybe I am this nice, maybe you just kind of stick around and it might turn out that I'm nice. And I'll never forget her exact words. She looks at me, she goes, I will not be sucked into your web of lies. Or no, I will not be sucked into your web. And then she left. I've never saw her again. And I was like, that happened like within 5 minutes of like everything's great, and we're talking about how I was gonna like take her with me traveling, and within 5 minutes, like saw the back of her head walk out the door. It's the weirdest thing. So, anyways,
She did you a favor.
no, she did me a favor. Oh no, she did. Obviously, she's like psycho, but I was like, wow, that was wild, right? So, anyways, it has nothing to do with anything, but I'm nice to everybody. So yes. So if your answer is if you were playing with me, I would absolutely root you on. Of course I would. I heard you were teaching Will Smith. Is this true? Yeah, that's actually true because the key to not putting the nose up on a disc is you don't karate chop. You slap. You always want to slap with the back of your hand. That's how you keep the nose flat. Don't karate chop. You backhand somebody. Yeah, so I am working with Will Smith. And by the way, he never puts the nose up on a disc. Have I played Moraine State Park Worlds or played in 215? Yes, I played Moraine State Park at the World Championships in 2015. It's one of the best courses ever. Yeah, Moraine's awesome. Moraine, Deer Lakes, and Nobo are like, I think Pittsburgh has the best 1, 2, 3 punch of any three. I don't think there's a city in the world that has 3 courses of that quality. Let's see. Hi from Portland. You're talking to the owner of Disc Golf Depot that used to play against me back in the day. He lost to me in a tourney here. You threw in for an ace on the last hole. I love the way the stories about me grow.
So named Jerry Miller?
Is he named Jerry Miller? Yeah. What? Do you know the story about my ace and I don't?
I was reading the other comments.
No, I don't recall. I've never thrown an ace in on the final hole of a tournament to win. But I'd love the story, so let's go with that. In fact, tell everybody about it. No, it's not true. I never won. I might have made a big shot on that. I made some big shots on final holes to win tournaments, but never an ace. He said the next day Felberg came by the course, maybe Blue Lake, and Felberg was throwing as far as he could, and Jerry started laughing because Scott could throw farther with a putter. Well, that's possible. I used to throw pretty far. I had, check this out. This, by the way, this video is up. The guy told the story about back in the 90s. I mean, this is not an exaggeration. I threw about 150 feet farther than anyone else on tour. There were distance throwers who specialized in distance that were my peers. We all threw far. But as far as touring players, I had a minimum of 100 feet on the farthest throwing players out there. I mean, I smacked. Basically, I threw as far as, Simon and Barella, today, but there was no Simons and Barellas back then. So anyways, I came to a tournament. I did a clinic in Knoxville, and I did a clinic, and the news came out and everything, right? So, okay, that was cool. I did the clinic. Well, I came back to Knoxville last year, and I went to the pro shop, and the pro was there, and he was at the clinic I went to in the 90s. And he told me the story. This is a true story, right? Yes. He told me the story about his best friend who this was, I almost broke down. He said that when I threw in the demonstration that I threw so far, he was like mesmerized by how far he threw. And he looked over at his friend, and his friend had tears running down his face. And he said, "What's going on?" And he goes, I just didn't think that was possible, what I just saw. Like, I just didn't know that a human being can do that with a golf disc. And it was just like, and he cried. And then the guy telling the story was getting choked up telling the story. And I was like, oh my God, it was the neatest thing. I don't know what, that's crazy, but yeah, I used to throw pretty far. Let's see. You wake up and piss excellence. Is this something you experienced? Yeah, I used to wake up and piss excellence until a couple days ago, and I woke up and pissed brown. That's why I dropped out of the tournament. By the way, I told someone else that I pissed brown, and they said I need to go to the doctor. My kidneys are failing, and I said I was exaggerating. What I meant to say is I pissed Kool-Aid.
So it's kind of the color of that jersey on the table there behind me.
Yeah, sure. Here, I'll demonstrate. I peed this color. That's why I withdrew from the tournament to Maple Hill. It's the same thing I've been dealing with all year. By the way, you're the one that brought up piss, Billy Buckner. Wait. Billy Buckner? I'm going to Fenway Park on Wednesday. Did you know that?
Who's Billy Buckner?
Billy Buckner? Fenway Park?
I don't know what that means.
Were you alive in 1986?
Barely.
Yeah, you're in for a very long story tonight.
Okay, so this is the last question that you can tell me.
You're getting a bedtime story tonight. It's all about Bill Buckner. What's your favorite basket, like DGA's? I don't have a favorite brand of basket. I think they're all great, and I never pay attention to which basket is which, because I think they all catch basically really, really good. And if some are better than others, I think a lot of that is just correlation. You have a bad putting round or a couple spit outs, and so all of a sudden you think this basket is better than that basket. I think they're all pretty close. But I do think that it screws with people's heads, where they go to a tournament and they have it in their head, oh, this is a veteran's basket, or this is a chain star, and these don't catch my putts. I think it screws with people. So to me, not know, because it doesn't change, like knowing the basket, knowing what basket is, does not change the putt. I'm still aiming for the exact same spot. I'm still trying to make the putt. And the result is going to be whatever the basket gives me. If it spits it out, it spits it out. I have no control over that. So knowing which, or having an opinion about which basket is better, can only harm me. It can't help me.
Okay, this is the last question.
Black flag or dead Kennedys? Black flag. Of course. By the way, but speaking of the dead Kennedys, we are going to Cambodia in February. Do you know what that means? I got 2 stories for you tonight.
We're gonna need bug spray.
Oh my Lord, I don't even know who you are anymore. Oh. All right, so I'll give one more quick pitch before we take off tonight. I'm glad everybody hung out with me. Don't go. I'm going to give you the pitch. First off, these Stokely Universe discs available at scottstokely.net. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. I want to hear what Kelly has to say. Kelly, tell me what you like about Cambodia, because I can't wait to go to Cambodia. We're going to Angkor, and we're going to be there for a couple weeks. But these beautiful discs, Discraft ESP buzzes are available at scottstokely.net. There's all these really cool tour discs, but the only signed tour discs, I only have a few signed tour discs left. They may be gone, but if they're not, they're going to be gone like really soon. So if you I also have tour series harps. Where was this?
In your backpack.
Why would I have a harp in my backpack?
I don't know.
I got discs everywhere. So like, for some reason, I'm surrounded by frisbees.
Here, I got a story for you after too. Remind me about where the birds.
Wait, you have a story?
No, for off camera.
An off-camera story?
Yeah.
You can't tell? You can't tell it? Okay.
So about finding discs everywhere, just remind me.
Okay, I'll find discs everywhere. Okay. So anyways, by the way, don't log off yet, because Kelly's talking. I want to hear what Kelly has to say about Cambodia. So good night, Joe Racino, coach. Wait a second. So Campot, what is Campot? Yeah, everybody, you can leave likes. And Angkor, I can't wait to go to Angkor. I mean, we're spending obviously a few days there, and we're not going to get to see it all, but I want to know what Campot is. Billy Buckner, that's so funny. You don't know about Bill Buckner? Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Kids these days. Wait a second. Were you even born in 1986?
I said barely.
You were like how you were.
I was not a person at that time.
You were like a toddler in 1986.
I was not a person at that time.
I got out of my first rehab as a teenager.
That's why when you said you would give me up and go to turn, to be 20, I'm like, yeah, that's fair, because I wouldn't even, I wouldn't even be old enough to be alone with you when you were 20.
I would easily give you up to be 20. I'd give up you and my right arm to be 20.
Your right arm? That's your throwing arm.
Yeah, I would give up my throwing arm to be 20. So wait, you're not shocked that I'd give?
So now I can't.
Wait, hold on. So wait a second. So you didn't have a problem with me saying I'd give up you to be 20, but if I give up my throwing arm, that offends you.
Yeah.
I like the way you think. You got your priorities straight.
Well, no, because now I know the whole thing's a lie.
About what?
Giving up your throwing arm.
To be 20?
Yes.
My God, I would do anything. So wait a second. Campot. Tell me more about Cambodia, Kelly. Let's see. Totally finished. Oh, here, pop up anymore.
Oh.
Totally finished my audiobook at work. Oh, good. First off, I'm happy to know you're listening to my audiobook instead of working. Work is not good for you. Such an amazing journey, bringing the disc golf so many people as you could. Thank you all. I brought to the game as well as your journey. You are very welcome. My journey has been really fun. One of the people in my book just said goodnight to me, Joe Orsino, by the way. He's in my book a lot. Eagle teach me how to throw with my non-throwing arm. I'm too old to be taught anything. I've been teaching people far longer than Eagle's been alive.
20-year-old you in the book is a challenge.
Oh, I was a challenge at 20 years old. I wasn't a bad kid. I was just an angry, troubled teenager. New Scott Stokely, the 20-year-old lefty. Oh, that's why you're saying teach me to throw the opposite hand.
Mm-hmm.
The new Scott, the 20-year-old lefty. Yeah, I don't know if I could ever get good at playing disc golf left-handed. I would have to figure out something else to do with my life. But at 20, there's a million things I could do. At 53, my options are pretty limited.
I think the options that you were pursuing at 20 were pretty not stellar also.
My 20-year-old options weren't very stellar. So Kampont's a small town you stay when you first arrived in South Cambodia. Yeah, message me. I'm like totally interested in hearing more about Cambodia, Kelly, if you message me. Of course. It sounds amazing. All right. Oh, it's a dream trip to recreate. I wish you have the best. Hope you have a good time visiting Angkor. It would be great to revisit with you. Stay in touch. I'm very accessible. I mean, I'm busy, so a lot of times replies are slow because I get like, you have no idea how many messages I get and comments and shares and stuff like that. And I try to respond to everybody, but it's like a full-time job. But all right, thank you everyone. Y'all are the best.